Hello, and welcome to Why Did My Builder Do That? The weekly podcast that will answer your questions about home design, home building, and much more. Of course, we will be asking, why did my builder do that? But sometimes we will ask, why didn't my builder do that? Or, will my builder do that? Or even, does my builder know about this? Each week, we will tackle new questions and hopefully provide insight into designing, choosing a builder, building, financing, and even maintaining or remodeling a home. From time to time, we will be looking at why or how something went wrong, but we will be asking about new building products and new building techniques. Along the way, we will also be talking about building standards and warranties. We invite you to email us questions, and we will make every effort to include them in future podcasts, or at the least, we will send back information or a comment on your questions. Email us at WDMBDT@gmail.com. Why would my builder do that? Join us now for Why Did My Builder Do That?
Hello and welcome to another Why Did My Builder Do That podcast. Your hosts today are Gary Dunn with Custom Home Building Consultants and myself, Joe Bronson with Home Central Realty. We'll be talking about several different things in all of our podcasts, but today we're going to discuss the fact of how to find a home site and what should I be looking for when it comes to a home site. That becomes very important when it comes to offsite building.
Joe, I'm going to ask a few questions here that people have sent in, and hopefully I won't put you on the spot too bad, so see what you can do. First is a common one is just how do I get started?
Well, there's a tremendous amount of things that go into finding a home site. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as we'd all hope it to be. But in this case, it's a matter of, first of all, determining, are you looking to be in a situation where you want to be in a subdivision, or are you looking to be in an area that is on acreage that we call offsite? And that becomes very important when it comes to making those decisions and determining what you want to do, because there's many things that go into play when it comes to that. And that is, who owns the property? How far out is the property? There's numerous things to consider when it comes to moving into a land search situation. So there'll be several things that people such as myself, being a realtor, would be able to help you in that process with asking a few questions and then doing a search to see where it is that you'd like to be.
If I want to live on acreage, what should I be looking for, and maybe what should I avoid?
Well, it's one of those things that sometimes you get to the mountaintop and it's absolutely spectacular and beautiful. But unfortunately, what you don't think about is, how am I getting there? So that has to do with cost. So there are many things that may prohibit you from looking at that most spectacular site if it's a situation where you've got budgetary constraints. So just like you see in this picture, that would be awfully beautiful to wake up to every morning and look out over that valley and gorge to really see some beautiful things. But there are many things that could contribute to be problematic when it comes to that. So there are some things when it comes to driveway, when it comes to how am I going to use sanitary situations and water. There are many things that you need to be looking for when it comes to just the logistics of living there now versus just, I found the greatest site. You might find some of the sites that might be a place for you to go and visit and camp or hunt, but not necessarily build a home on.
Well, that's good advice, and I'm trying to wonder how long it would take my pizza to get here if I was this far away from civilization. So that could be a real problem for me. So
you're not kidding.
So what are some of the differences between a development or a subdivision and offsite? What should I expect, or what's going to need to happen to make my home site buildable?
Well, in looking at an offsite build, there are several of the items that you and your builder will work through and that you're going to need versus being in a subdivision. Many of those items are already there. I mentioned in the last slide sanitary provisions such as sewer. In most cases, in a subdivision, you're going to have city sewer or county sewer that's going to be there. In a subdivision, you'll also have city water. So those public utilities are there, and electric, gas, all of those types of things. The difference is when you get into an offsite position, you know, now something as simple as a driveway. How are you going to get back to it? You decide that you want your home to be, let's say, 250 feet off of the roadway. You've got to get back there. So now it's a matter of clearing out topsoil, getting down to virgin soil, and then being in a position where you've got gravel that's going to be going in. And the further back you go, the more gravel that you have, and that is going to create expense. A septic tank for your sanitary, that's going to depend on the soil that you have on the home site in which you're considering to select. Some septic tanks could be anywhere from $18,000 and go all the way up to $30,000. And that's not just the tank, that's the entire system and installation that would go into it. You've got to work with a well versus the city water. And again, it's a matter of where's that well going to go? There are building code requirements that you need to make certain that the well is away from the septic. But there's also the condition of, is it a well that is 80 feet or is it a well that's 150 feet? So those are just some of the short items, if you will, of the differences between offsite building and subdivision building that you'll need to work through with your builder. And not only do you need to work through that, but ask the question, does the builder handle that? Or is the builder expecting you to do that to get all of those offsite items? That's going to be very important for you to know right up front.
Well, that sort of leads me to my next question is, am I going to have to pay all these site costs out of my pocket? How does site cost factor into the build?
Well, and again, in most cases, you will not. When it comes to a subdivision environment, they're going to be included in your pricing. The land, all of the utilities and all of the improvements will be included in the pricing, including permits and so on. When it comes to offsite building, that is a different ballgame. And that's a conversation that you need to start out with your builder to make certain that you've got a good feel and a good handle on what that builder might be thinking those costs are going to be. And they're going to have a good idea as to what things will be of things that they can see. If there are things that are hidden, obviously, it's going to be a situation where their guess is as good as yours and vice versa. But in that case, that'll be a component when it comes to you going to the lender. You can think of three different things when it comes to working with your lender. First of all, land. That will be one of the components in your financing. The second item is the actual house itself. What's it going to cost for construction? And then the third item, lastly, is what we're seeing here, and that is, what are those offsite costs going to be? So those will be items that will be included in your home construction, on your construction loan, and they will be drawn out just like any of the building materials will be for your builder. Now, their timing could be totally different than working around the draw schedule, because these components are outside of that and can be done at different times. But most importantly, and I think what most of our homeowners would be concerned about, Gary, is just as the question says, am I paying this out of pocket? And the answer is no. You can, but that's not going to be required. It'll be part of your loan.
I'm going to circle back. We're still looking for this lot, and if a property's not listed, is there a way to find out whether someone would be willing to sell a property or not?
Well, this is when you become a detective or an investigative journalist, because now you're going to be seeking other resources to be able to find, one, an owner. Two, they may not have it be listed. There may not even be a sign. There may not even be indication as to where property lines are. So now it's a matter of going to neighbors and asking questions about, gee, do you know who owns that property? And in most cases, they probably will. but you might find that it's an out-of-state owner that they may not know who it is. So now it's a matter of going to county records. And in most cases, that's going to be the auditor. And you'll start doing searches that would include looking for parcels, looking at a map. There very well could be that you've got listings on land. There are several ways that you can, I don't want to say find land, but resources that you can attempt to find who owns properties. But in most cases, what we all hope for is that it has been parceled off and it is listed in the auditor's website, and you're able to find out who those owners are. And then it's going to be maybe a little bit challenging for you and going to have to shake off the nerves and find out what their contact information is and simply call them on the phone. And then sometimes it might be walking up on their front porch and knocking on the door and saying, hello, my understanding is you own this property. Is there any interest that you might have in selling the property? So those are things that not all of us are set up to be comfortable doing, but they are great resources because most people won't do that. And if you do, you might find an absolute gem and or a diamond in the rough and have a piece of property that you can build your dream home on that you'll never forget.
Well, that's great advice. I happen to know that on our website, we have a very extended webinar on this whole subject. So maybe you can tell us about that and tell us how maybe we can ask our own questions.
Absolutely. We have several webinars that you're going to be able to see on our website that are available for you to learn. But in the meantime, if there are questions that you have in regards to this topic, please feel free to send us an email, ask your questions, comments. The address for those emails to come into us is WDMBDT. That stands for Why Did My Builder Do That? @gmail.com. If you send in your question, we may build a podcast around your question on new topics or on a new topic, but we'll certainly make every attempt whatsoever to answer your question that you might have by sending them into that email address. But again, you can also view some of these on our webinar that are available for you to take a look at. And in the meantime, we look forward to seeing you the next time. We'll have more podcasts for you to have out there. And Gary, thanks so much for, as always, joining as my co-host. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good week.